Let's talk about drugs. Share a story. So I hear cocaine's a hell of a drug, and it's something that I would never, ever, 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 ever do. But I really want to do it. I would never, ever, 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 ever do. But I really want to do it because when you look at movies, TV shows, and all the experience you hear about cocaine, it's like, wow, that sounds like a really great drug. Why would I not want to do it? But then you learn about cocaine and how literally one time of doing it can literally crack your reality. I would hate to have me associated with the story of that one time cracking my reality. So if you ever hear a story of me doing cocaine, just know it was not under my consent. I would never, ever, ever, ever do it. Even though I really want to do it, I would never, ever, ever, ever do it. But if we're going to talk about drugs, let's talk about the ABCs of drugs. Because when you talk about the ABCs of drugs, there are examples that are one wide range that any person can do in America. Yet it will really make you question, why are these three consumed so freely? So what are the ABCs of drugs? Well, there's alcohol, there's Benadryl, and there's coffee. Shout out to coffee. So starting off with alcohol. First things first. Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. If you haven't heard Section 80, then feel free to stop this video and go directly to the album and listen to the whole thing. Because, I mean, all of his albums are great. But shout out to Section 80. And shout out to Keisha's song, because Kanye West said in the song, you ain't gotta get drunk to have fun. You ain't gotta get drunk to have fun. And even though peer pressure is a hell of an influence, you ain't gotta get drunk to have fun. Always remember that. Even if alcohol's around, you don't need to drink. Always remember that. Who am I to be preaching? Me, literally. So now we talk about alcohol. So there's beer, there's liquor, and there's wine. When you look at all three at one level, the processes that goes into them is extremely intricate. And it's fascinating when you learn about just how regions, just how long the different crops are distilling and putting, literally even the barrels that store some of these things. It's fascinating when you learn about the things that goes behind making these alcoholic beverages. It's really crazy. Similar to coffee, yeah, but it's alcohol. And alcohol has been something that's been in my life throughout my whole entire life. I remember when I was younger and my dad used to drink beers, but I was like, one time I was like, hey, yo, Pops, let me get a sip of your lick. You feel me? Shit is just like that, no exaggeration. And he let me have some of his beer, and I was like, I don't see how adults enjoy this drink. And alcohol is interesting because now, even though you look at like college culture and things like that, it's like, wow, people really consume alcohol like it's water. Literally, alcohol. Some of the best stories are not really say some of the best stories. A lot of stories form from alcohol being involved in the stories. Alcohol is literally crazy. You feel me? It will make you really question society because alcohol is so detrimental to the body. Sober words are drunken thoughts, yet when you're drunk, you have an excuse to do things that you would do when you're sober. When you look at society and you look at, again, the college culture, and this is one thing that I learned while just being on the campus of Stanford, Yet when like Stanford students are like caught with alcohol and things like that, in a way they get a leeway if they're below the age of 21. So in a way, it gives them access to alcohol before 21 and allows them to mess up without getting really caught. That's luxuries you don't get outside of like being from Stanford. It's mind blowing. Alcohol will literally destroy families. It's mind blowing. You go to work, you wake up, go to work, come home, stressed out, you drink alcohol, destroys your liver, destroys your body, yet it gets you to an altered state to allows you to do the same cycle again. It's mind blowing. Yet it's legal. It's mind blowing. It makes you really question, why is alcohol legal? Why do we have such lenient rules of alcohol? Yet weed is looked differently. Weed has such negative stereotypes. Alcohol, it literally leads to drunk driving, yet it's still legal. It's mind blowing. So even though it's really fascinating and how it's like created, it's mind blowing that it's still legal in America compared to other drugs. But when we talk about Benadryl, you think of your alcohol as your hard drugs now. Benadryl as your pharmaceutical and coffee as your recreational. You think of Benadryl now and you go, what do pharmaceuticals actually do to the body? Because unlike the other two drugs, they give you an actual like list of like how to properly use these items, which is good, you know. You just don't have people popping it like let's say people will drink alcohol willy-nilly. There's no serving sizes on alcohol. Now when you think of Benadryl, you go in pharmaceuticals, again, Benadryl is an antihistamine, and if you're paying money for Benadryl, then maybe you don't know, you know? So if you go to the store and you see Benadryl, there may be a store version of Benadryl to where you could get Benadryl for cheaper instead of paying Benadryl price, because Benadryl is just the name brand for antihistamine. Maybe you don't know that. Life tips. So back in college, I was like, let me stop taking Benadryl so I can stay awake in my classes. Field experiment, still fell asleep. Yeah, it made me realize Benadryl works because it literally puts you to sleep. So how can I have allergies? It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't get rid of my allergies. It just masks the problem. And that's the thing with pharmaceuticals. Does it really solve the problem? Or does it mask it enough so you just get through it? But is that healthy? Then you think about coffee. The drug that's in all workplaces. The drug that people say, I'm not the same person unless I have my coffee. The drug that people drink to stay awake. Yeah, something interesting about coffee. And as I work in coffee, I learn more about it. It's not so much the coffee that keeps you awake, it's the water in coffee that keeps you awake. It's kind of interesting. The coffee will make you stimulated. It will stimulate you. It gives you those jitter feelings in a way. But the water in it keeps you awake. So try this out whenever you get the chance. But instead of drinking coffee throughout the day, drink water. And you may be more awake, but you may have in a way less energy because you're not like stimulated. It's interesting stuff. Again, coffee is like alcohol too, where how high the coffee bean is grown. What's the moisture of it? Is it near an ocean? Is it not? How is it processed? Oh my God, it's so interesting because it's so intricate, you know? Yet at the same time, you look at some uses of coffee and then go, wait, you're actually kind of addicted to this. Like, if you were to not have a coffee today and you have headaches, that's actually a problem of like withdrawal, you know? So now looking throughout all three of those drugs, you kind of go, I could do all of these and not be judged, even though what makes this drug different from heroin? Because here's the thing. These drugs being legal allows people to do them without getting caught, you know? I could drink alcohol and destroy my liver. Yeah, I could go to work the next day like I did nothing the night before. I could drink alcohol and walk out the house, and the cops were to pull me over. Yeah, I'll be drunk, but if I'm not bothering anyone, then they just leave me alone. And then you take a look at this other drugs. You look at weed, you look at heroin, you look at cocaine, and you go, if someone were to do all those other drugs responsibly, to where their everyday is not being affected, why would we not look at them similar to we look at people who were to take allergy medicine, alcohol, or coffee? To where I ask you, where does your perception of the ABCs of drugs come from? And where does your perception come from these other drugs that are out there? Who form those perceptions? How do those drugs of the ABCs, how do those affect your family? How do the other one affect your family? Where does your bias come from? Because here's what I know. If I'm talking about the A and C, like it's cool in here, of of drugs, you look at alcohol and you realize at one point in America it was illegal. And it had the negative effects shown as other drugs have, but it was on alcohol. Now it's taken willy-nilly. If you look throughout the history of coffee, you'll see that coffee was a drug that should have been illegal several times throughout its history, yet coffee was always made legal throughout. It's now looking at society and seeing that alcohol, Benadryl, and coffee are all legal. Why are those legal and not other ones? Whose hands are really at play when it comes to deciding what drugs are legal or not? But I don't want to get in too deep. So I'll end with this. Life is a trip, but on Sundays we sip. My name is Ryan Vernon. This is The Hustle for Show. And until the next story, keep hustling, y'all. Keep hustling. Peace.